Well, I don't really have much to say because Temple football has left me speechless once again.
Yeah, and you know what? Heading into UCF week, we should have everything to be talking about right now. But at least we have a couple former Owls who are hoping to hear their names called in this week's upcoming NBA draft. We'll talk about all that and more, but first, let's take a timeout. Hey there, Owls fans. Welcome back to Temple Timeout. Alongside Alex Call, I'm Brooklyn Vaughn. It's my favorite time of the week once again. Alex, so much to talk about today.
That's right, Brooklyn. Maybe day 2 of straight rain here in Philadelphia, but you can count on us to brighten the mood, unlike the Eagles. I mean, hopefully. We don't know yet, but we'll see. All right, so after the Owls allowed 355 yards through the air and 194 yards on the ground last week against SMU, they face another tough matchup against UCF. I wonder how Russo's feeling because that Owls offense is ranked 46th in the nation when it comes to passing yards per game and 93rd in the nation with 130 rush yards per game. And we all know you can't rush the ball without a passing game, especially when that passing game's in shambles because you're on your 1, 2, 3rd quarterback.
And we are unsure of this quarterback situation. You know, I'm not even confident that Russo will be playing this week, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. If the Owls want to keep up with this high-tempo offense, it'll be tough to do so with a group of inexperienced guys that, you know, with the exception of Brandon Mack, Jaden Blue, Tavon Ruley, and then you take into the consideration that UCF's defense is letting up an average of 474 yards per game. You know, when you play this team, it all comes down to whoever can be the most efficient offense. And this matchup will arguably be the toughest test yet for the Owls.
So this UCF team, it might not be ranked as high as they once were, but they're missing 4 stars on defense because of a little off-field actions and a little off-field troubles, but they still forced 2 turnovers against Houston, which is a good team, and they beat them by more than 20 points. So quarterback Dylan Gabriel looks like he's getting hot. I mean, kid's always hot. He's just a good quarterback. He's an American Athletic Conference good quarterback. It's nice seeing them. But he threw for nearly 350 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. And yeah, UCF has a top offense in the nation. It's their defense that's really holding them back.
Everybody knows how fast our offense is. Probably one of the fastest in the nation, but that's fine. We simplified the defense a little bit so that we can, you know, play faster and not get caught in the situations where we're kind of like out of place.
So the Knights sit at 4-2 right now. Their only loss is coming from Tulsa and that down-to-the-wire shootout of a Memphis game. They easily knocked down Tulane 3 weeks ago, which the Owls absolutely did not do. And just this past weekend, they handed Houston another loss.
Yeah, I mean, this week it's Saturday night. It's under the lights in Orlando, 7:30 p.m. Of course, Temple's big primetime game. They're getting an opponent like UCF, but Temple's lost 3 straight against UCF. The last game they played them last year, 63-21. Wasn't really close, but a little bit of bright news. Temple is 10-4 at the spread in the last 14 games after an at the spread loss. If you know what that means, but I mean, I hope that's good because it's kind of the only good thing they have going for it.
Although Temple fans might want to forget about it, let's take a look back to this past week's matchup against SMU. The Owls started this one off with a bang. First play of the game, Trad Beatty sends it out wide to Randall Jones, who turns on the burners for a 75-yard touchdown. A few drives later, though, Jones is knocked out of the game due to injury. SMU will answer quickly as Shane Buechele connects with Tyler Page for a Mustang touchdown, and that won't be the last time we see Page in this reel. With Rial Mitchell under center this drive, the Owls put up 7 more as Tavon Ruley, the Delco native, carries in his first touchdown of the season. Second half now, Bouchel finds an open Tyler Page down the middle. I told you it was coming. He takes it 44 yards into the end zone to give the Mustangs a lead they don't let up for the rest of the day. In the fourth quarter, SMU scored a touchdown in all 4 of their possessions, and that's the first one, a 24-yard pass to Kylan Granson. Owls trailing by 31 as it comes to a close, but to make up for some ground in garbage time, Real Mitchell connects with Aaron Jarman in the end zone to end this one 47-23. That was Mitchell's first career touchdown pass as an Owl, and Coach Carey agrees that the quarterback performance this week showed a bit of improvement when it came to comfort.
They both played better. They were both a lot calmer this week. Obviously, it's their game too, and so there was just more of a sense of comfort right there. Certainly some things that we have to get better at.
So this was the first game that tickets were available to Owls fans during the pandemic. A reported 2,577 fans were in attendance. And of course, the Temple Temperers were there. So let's talk a little bit more about this team as they traveled down to Orlando for this week's game. Brooklyn, I got a question for you. It's been a little bit now, a little while, but will Russo suit up?
I don't see it happening. I don't think so. It makes no sense, in my opinion, to put him in if he's injured. As much as Temple would love to have him with them against UCF this week, he's played well against them in the past. But it makes more sense for him to get back to full health and to be able to pull out a win over ECU and to have a shot at even being competitive for Cincinnati.
Yeah, some good points. But I agree with you. I don't think we're going to see him either. Owls have been without Russo for a little bit now. If he was playing, I think there'd be a lot more excitement for this game. I look at player social medias. There hasn't been a lot of posts. There hasn't been a lot of excitement. And I know people think that's kind of crazy, but it isn't to me. But team-wise, not a lot of excitement, but betting-wise, not much either. Temple's getting 25 points, and that doesn't usually happen in a conference game when both teams have a healthy starting quarterback in the American Athletic Conference. Unless you're an abysmal program, and we know Temple isn't. So, 25 points, they know something that we don't know.
I was going to say, in terms of the other guys, no positive news still on Trad Beatty. That leads us to believe that he won't be playing this week either. So, Real Mitchell will be the starter this week, in my opinion, in your opinion, I believe too, which can only mean that Matt Duncan, the freshman, is their backup guy. You know what? Matt Duncan, turn me up. We'll see how that plays out. But anyway, some other guys to watch out for. Alex, who do you have your eye on?
Yeah, Matt Duncan, right? Hopefully we don't see him. But, all right, I'm going with the Real Mitchell. I took him a few weeks ago kind of as a sleeper, but he's had a full week of first-team reps. And although he isn't working, he isn't wowing anyone that much on the field, he hasn't thrown an interception. I don't know how much that is. He only has 30 attempts, but he hasn't turned the ball over, which is a big thing that's hurt the Owls more. And if Russo doesn't suit up, it could be his first collegiate football game where Real Mitchell is going in as the starter. That'll supply some juice that's definitely needed. So keep that in mind. So Real Mitchell is mine. How about you?
I mean, it's a battle of quarterbacks this week for sure. Dylan Gabriel is my player to watch. It seems like a no-brainer. Maybe I should have taken a little bit more of a risk here with this one, but we have to talk about this guy for a second. He is ranked 3rd in the nation in passing yards, and he has completed 64% of his throws so far, not to mention he's already thrown for 21 touchdown passes this year. Total stud, if not one of the best quarterbacks in the AAC, in all of college football, in my opinion, right now. So with that being said, Alex, I want to know, what are your predictions for this upcoming week?
Oh, man. Listen, we had an easy one last week with the predictions calling for a Temple loss. We were holding our breath at the halftime. Hopefully we wanted Temple to win, but for our own sakes, we called for a loss. But looks like we're going to have that same case again this weekend. It's going to be a Temple loss. It's going to be a blowout. Let me just say that. Final score, I'm going to do a score this week. I'm doing 51-24. UCF wins on prime time, 7:30, under the lights. And they might even get a 60 burger. That's it.
They might. Listen, the Owls, it's going to be a tough loss, in my opinion, simply put. Too many key injuries with guys who look the most promising, the most dependable at the start of the season on both sides of the ball. IGM, Russo, Randall Jones now out. Temple fans have not had fun these past 3 weeks, and unfortunately for them, I think some more disappointment is in store. Now moving over to the court, the Temple men's basketball team looks a whole lot different this year, mainly thanks to the departure of some key players. Let's take a look at two of the departing Owls who are hopeful to be heading to the pros this year, Napier Louis and Quentin Rose.
So our guy Quentin Rose signed with Rock Nation, owned by Jay-Z. They're going to represent him in the NBA draft. It said that with his aggressiveness on defense and his explosiveness on offense, Q Rose could hear his name called in the second round, but don't count on it. He's great on offense and has some league records, but that can only go so far in the NBA draft. Napier Louis is a fan favorite. He dunks hard, he plays hard. And he's regarded as one of the top rebounding guards in the NBA draft and is seen as a second rounder like Quentin Rose. But you need more than rebounding and aggressiveness to play in the biggest stage there is.
The draft is finally set for this coming Wednesday, November 18th, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune into ESPN to see if your former Owls land anywhere in the big leagues. And now let's move over to some pro sports news. We're bringing in a good friend of the show who attended this year's Philly Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. The one, the only, Alexis Beckett joins us now. Hey, Alexis.
What's up, Alexis?
Hey, guys. It's good to be back. Now, last Thursday, I attended an awesome induction ceremony featuring your favorite Philly athletes. The headliner for this year's class is Kobe Bryant, and I spoke with Jerry Sizemore about receiving this honor.
Every year, there are several legendary athletes and coaches inducted into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. This year, the ceremony took place virtually on November 5th on Facebook. Some of the new members include people like Sherry Greer-Brown and David Montgomery. Inductee Jerry Sizemore played for the Eagles from 1973 to 1984. He shares how much of an honor it is to be inducted.
Well, of the many awards that and dust collectors that I've received, this is kind of the highlight. It's like the pinnacle of that. There's a bunch of my large part of my soul still in Philadelphia.
The most notable of the inductees is the late Kobe Bryant. The Bryant family said that they were not yet emotionally ready to participate in celebrations. While the Bryant family did not speak at the ceremony, the other inductees spoke on Kobe Bryant's legacy.
The amazing young man that was so open-hearted and beautiful and transparent.
The 14 inductees were able to make speeches as well as their families. Although the ceremony could not happen in its normal fashion, the inductees' legacies were still able to be recognized and celebrated.
Sizemore, as well as the other inductees, were grateful for such an honor. Now, before I go, let me promote my show real quick. On this week's episode, I talk with Ty Strickland, men's basketball redshirt sophomore. Fans are really excited to see him, being as though he's a transfer. He talks a little bit about what fans can expect from him, what his starting five lineups would be, and what his transfer process was like coming out of Wisconsin.
Great stuff, Alexis. As always, thanks for coming on. We love having you. And that'll do it for this episode of Temple Timeout. Don't forget to follow us over at Twitter at @TU_SportsDesk to stay up to date on all things Temple athletics.
For Alex Call, myself, and the entire Timeout crew, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.